Hello, today I will cover the powerful overpowered boss of Fear Hunger Termina, the Heartless One. This is an enemy in Fear Hunger 2 where you will not be able to find her unless you do a few specific things beforehand, and that you can also completely prevent yourself from even having a chance to fight her. As stated before, this fight is quite difficult. It's one of the hardest fights in Fear Hunger Termina, next to Mass of Platoon. So, if you're taking on this fight, well, you will need a few things. In this video, I'll be covering 5 sections that are going to help you out a lot. Summoning, attack pattern, useful items and skills, builds, physical, magical, item only, loot and secret tech. During the summoning, I will be explaining how to summon this boss to fight her during your game, as the steps can be quite difficult to remember at times, especially since soft-locking yourself out of this fight is very easy. The pattern of her attacks is something very important. We'll itemize ourselves with useful skills and items. Afterwards, I will tell you the builds that you can make that will make this fight easy to the point of not really having to think when fighting. Of course, each character has their own unique ways of fighting, so even if some may seem stronger, maybe a longer battle with more close calls will be more fun in the end. And last but definitely not least, I'll be telling you of their loot as well as a secret tech. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and like the video. You can also become a member of the channel, and donating through the thanks button or using the donation link in the description will help me a lot. Without further ado, let's begin. Summoning. The summoning of the Heartless One is quite convoluted, however, we'll be going through it step by step. 1. You will need to have access to the sewers, either by unlocking them with Henrik's keys once you save them, or unlocking them with Abela's short circuit skill. There are other ways to unlock it, of course, like using a sewer winch, but it's up to you. 2. Find the sewer puzzle. If you have trouble solving it, make sure to check this video on my channel. You'll see the video on the top right of the screen. Once you solved it, go to the right and head all the way down. 3. Fight the giant dog, who, well, if you are up to this point, I don't even have to tell you who it is. This fight can be cheesed by using glass shards as well as using gear that prevents you from being poisoned. If you have fire, poison, or bleeding on you, this fight will go down faster if you focus on the torso. 4. Once you go through, you should end up at the church's basement. Right here you will want to go to this spot where it is usually blocked by a chandelier. Now that you access from the bottom, you can go in and find a key. Take this key and bring it to this ascended god circle and make sure to draw rare. You need rare's book as well as chalk to draw it. If perhaps you're having a hard time finding rare, you might want to go and explore the orphanage and loot as many books as possible. Once drawn, you go inside the rare dimension and you'll find the Heartless One chained. Use the key and you will free her. Loot her body and you'll get a summoning item, the heart-shaped block. Now, next time you go to one of these circles where you can sacrifice heads, you will see the option to use this item on it. Once you use it, you will have the Heartless One summoned, and she will ask for a fight. Warning! This fight can only be done solo. If you choose to summon her, make sure to be ready to fight alone. You may have your blood golem, but as far as I know, you can't have allies or zombies. Attack pattern. Now, before we think of builds, we might as well talk about the Heartless One so you can see why we need these builds to begin with, shall we? As you fight the Heartless One, you will need 16 speed to be able to have an extra turn, so their speed is as usual as every single other enemy in the game, at least the common ones. Also, don't even think about stunning her or blinding her. You can't, you just can't at all, so go away, mischief of rats. Once you've taken your turn, she attacks you with her red virtue using Soul Strike. This deals magic damage and hits the player twice. This attack will always happen, can be dodged by the player, as well as reflected back with Nasra's head, doing very little damage back to the Heartless One. I shouldn't remind you that it can also cut your arms. Next, she'll do either Curse of Light or Pillar of Light with her yellow staff. This deals static damage, as in, you can only guard against them to lower their damage. You cannot itemize yourself for this. Curse of Light does little to no magic damage to the player. It is not able to be dodged or deflectable, but lowers the character's accuracy by 40%, and the only way to remove this is by using a Purifying Talisman. While Pillar of Light does a lot of damage, but will not apply any debuffs. You cannot dodge this, nor reflect it, and it deals static damage. That is what her turn will consist of. Afterwards, her following second turn will have her add something new to the list. She'll do Soul Strike into Curse of Light or Pillar of Light, but then here is when it gets difficult. She will do Blood Rose Assault with her Red Virtue. She will attack you 4 times in a row doing physical damage. piercing damage specifically. Thankfully, this can be dodged if you have high evasion. You will more than likely have an easier time here. It cannot be reflected though. And yes, it can also cut your arms. I did say arms, not legs. But once this attack is over, she'll summon Blood Rose Vines on you. This attack can be dodged and it does almost no damage to the player. However, it lowers your speed by 75% as well as your evasion by 25%. This attack deals piercing damage. Good, now it's your turn. Third turn is the same as the second. However, fourth turn, she gets a new ability. In the fourth turn, she will spread her wings and will have something more that will bother you with. Her attack pattern is Soul Strike, Curse of Light or Pillar of Light, Feather Rain, Blood Rose Assault, Blood Rose Binds. So, what is Feather Rain? Well, it's like Perkel's attack, doing very low damage, however it applies bleeding to the player. This attack can only be dodged, it cannot be reflected. Also, the damage type is slashing since it applies bleeding. And well, that's the whole fight. As you can see, there's a reason why I hate this boss and I think it doesn't belong here honestly. So what are the preparations you need for this thing? Well, easier said than done I guess. Useful items and skills. The most important thing about your build that you need to get is 21 agility. Since she lowers your speed after being hit by Blood Rose Vines, just make sure to either get a lot of speed or focus on dodging to not allow her to delete your extra turns. I can't begin to tell you how important extra turns are for this mess of a fight. Speed. The common ways of getting speed in this fight are by carving God of Fear and Hunger on yourself, plus 5 speed, equipping Small Things Amulet, plus 5 speed, Heroine, 1.3 times speed, Pep Pills of Rambar, double the speed, Soulstone upgrades from the Hexen, 1 speed from Tanaka, 1 speed from God of Fear and Hunger. Anything that sells your character on 21 is enough to survive and have your extra turns going, even if they debuff you. As far as I know, the debuffs do not stack on you. It only triggers once. Most physical characters will then need any kind of limb loss protection to be able to keep their attacks going, while mages and item users will surely ignore their arms after a while. Prevent limb loss. The common ways to prevent the loss of arms for physical builds are by Perfect Guard. Nope. This one doesn't work. In fact, ignore Perfect Guard since it's a glitch skill. Although a friend of mine says that it works, I hate this skill since it's so glitchy. I don't like it. No. Fluted arm pieces found in the museum. They do lower your agility by 1. Fluted armor. The combination of fluted arm pieces found at the museum. Fluted fold found at the mayor's house. Fluted breastplate found at the museum. It also reduces your agility by 5, but it replaces the chest armor. Arm guards, you gotta get lucky to find them. Salmon Snake Rune, get lucky yet again. Once you got your limbs intact, then you can start worrying about evasion. Evasion being a key component to most builds, able to balance themselves from taking too much damage and just dying. Because the Heartless One makes it very hard for the player to survive if they're not guarding, the first turn is a must for you to guard or evade. Thankfully, evasion isn't something difficult to acquire, and most of the time it comes with speed. Brown Bile is a perfect item to start the Heartless One since it gives you 50% evasion, plus of course already giving you double the speed, and I don't even have to mention the increase on 1.3 times of your defense as well as attack. Bob and Weave, giving you 50% evasion. It doesn't stack with Brown Bile. Cashmere Suit, 5 evasion. It stacks with Brown Bile or Bob and Weave. While you're not really going to achieve much with evasion, you will get a lot from just popping Brown Bile or Bob and Weave and relying on that buff at the start of the fight, while praying for Curse of Light instead of Pillar of Light to hit you. Henrik's food buffs, just get those buffs and you can start buffed up with evasion, attack and defense buffs, plus throw in Pep Pills and you will pretty much have Brown Bile with Bob and Weave at the start of a fight. Because of Cashmere Suit existence, we have to talk about armor since you need to be able to tank most of this damage, and this is where you're going to either tank yourself with magic defense or physical defense. Armor. This stat is very important, and thankfully there are 2 sets that I used that had quite the success rate for me. Mind you, other sets might grant a better time, but this is the way I've been able to do it myself. Physical armor based, any armor that gives high defense to piercing since it's their highest damage scaling. Bremen Elite Helmet, rare drop. Bremen Chestplate, rare drop, or Fluted Armor, guaranteed. Magical armor based, Death Mask loot. Yellow Mage Robes, Osa's loot. If you like to boost your chances of survival to the limit, then consider using Heroine, the item, not the real life thing. There's an item, I swear! As for accessories, it all depends on what you are trying to do. Do you want damage? Or do you want to survive until you can win? Because of this, I think it's best if we explain the accessories you should use for any kind of class or playstyle. Accessories for everybody. Beheaded Wizard, looted from Osa or being Osa, has a 30% chance to reflect the Heartless One's Soul Strike at the start of the turn. One Winged Necklace. Pick Olivia or find it from Rayla's hologram at the news agency. The lower your HP, the less damage you receive. While if you want to try combining both butterfly pendants, it supposedly only gives magic defense when combined. I haven't had time to test it out, so in my opinion you should only have one guarding cameo. That's the same as one wing necklace. The only issue is going through a small quest to make it work to begin with. Ballistic shield, defense against every physical stat for this fight. Ring of Wraith, looted in various ways, but one of the easiest ways to guarantee it is by using the talking board in the basement room where there is a chain skeleton. It gives 8% max HP heal per turn, making it very useful, especially if you get more max HP. Small Things Amulet, 50 shillings at the store or defeat the Rat King gang. Speed is amazing, we all know this. You will need one or two of these. Hardened Heart leaves you at 1 HP if killed in battle. This is a useful choice but not amazing. Arm guards or fluted arm pieces, or Thumbstick rune. Enough said. Eyeglasses looted from news agency. Whenever you are struck by Curse of Light, they restore your accuracy while being a mage or a physical user. Soul Devourer necklace, magic resist for her soul strike. Physical builds are going to need the following accessories to survive and deal enough damage. Accessories for physical builds. Ring of Wraith, healing per second is always amazing. Leechmonger, looted from the top floor of the department store. Lifesteal is always amazing, especially if you get some critical strike and combine it with counter stance. 30% healing based on physical damage dealt. Hardened Heart, the combination of Leechmonger, counter stance, Ring of Wraith is something insane and should not be ignored. Eyeglasses, if you're trying out the build and you're missing a bunch, well, here's your fix. Aigetsu, I don't know how to say this. Aigetsu amulet, looted from obtaining 9 rust colored pearls from the Rontiles and trading them to the radiating one. You can also get one by going to the museum, giving you 15% crit chance, which stacks with the weapon's own crit chance. Combining this one with Leechmonger is good, and I love healing so much thanks to it. It also stacks with itself. Magical builds are going to need the following accessories to survive and deal enough damage. Accessories for magical builds. Chak Chak, starting item of Osa, and found in the museum. Increasing your magic attack by 20 is amazing. It also stacks with itself. Battlestone, looted from Church of Almir by dropping the corpse hanging. 10% max mind regen per turn. Healing your mind is something not possible with this fight, so knowing you can just ignore mind and just focus on staying alive is great. Artificial Soul, random drop, 30% less mind cost, just less chances of getting it. It does also stack. And last but definitely not least, item only builds are going to need to survive with the following item. Accessories for item only builds. Well, I was going to list the items that will work for an item only run, but honestly they are strong enough that you probably don't need anything. Just check the accessories for everyone and just check what you want. One thing that I can tell you though, Leechmonger, this item works with ornamental lanterns, so have fun healing a little. Before we move into the actual builds, I'd like to mention that you should consider getting these buffs for yourself. Heroin, 3 are looted from needles. You know how strong it is. Also, if you'd like to remove your phobia and heroin withdrawal, then make sure to check this guide. Purifying Talisman, getting a lot of magic resistance at the start of the fight can be very useful against the Soul Strike, Regen, and Greater Regen, acquired from Olivia's skill. And yes, they stack, bringing 5% and 10% HP regen per turn. Poison Tip, Olivia's skill again, making your attacks have 50% chance to poison the enemy. Builds. Finally moving into the main part of this whole guide, how we build each character based on the information we gathered. Well, I would say, in the best way possible, that these builds are not only going to absolutely destroy the Heartless One, but you might even remove the fun from the game if you don't handicap yourself or nerf your playthrough in any kind of way. So yeah, just to not ruin your fun, I suggest either clicking away or skipping this part of the video, because it's going to make your future runs look like clown parties with the Heartless One, as she won't stand a chance against you at all. The information given before this will allow you to come up with builds that are going to be fun, but just to be on the safe side, you don't mind me making builds for you, right? Alright. For those who are still with me, these builds are going to absolutely destroy the Heartless One. Physical build. Starting off with the strongest combo for a physical damage build in existence. Counter Stance plus Leechmonger. I call this Vampiric Stance. The ability to just have both counter stance and combining it with Leechmonger makes runs against any kind of enemy just an absolute clown party. The main components are, of course, counter stance and Leechmonger. However, these complement quite well with the following weapons and skills. Meat Grinder, 35 attack that hits 30 times with 50% hit rate and 100% chance to bleed the enemy. Two-handed weapon. You can get it by learning weaponscraft from Avela's Soul or Vinavela. Getting the Meat Grinder isn't that hard. I suggest dealing with the mob or getting to Bunker 1 in the forest. I should probably also make a video about how to get the meat grinder, no? Black Steel, 58 damage, 18% crit rate, one-handed weapon, get it after defeating Moonless and focusing on the Black Steel sword. Blood Sword, 50 attack. If you are not a two-handed warrior, then I recommend Blood Sword as it has quite the heavy damage as well. You will need to pray for Almir to get it, and if you want Longinus, two-handed, you have to finish the game in ending C. Mauler, 70 attack, 15% hit rate, 25% chance to bleed the enemy. Two-handed, Marina can also use this as a glitch weapon. High damage, but not even close to being as strong as the others above, as the bleed chance is very low. So you might have noticed what is rather the meta with these physical builds when it comes to what you're looking for. Meat Grinder applies a 30 hit combo that can crit 30 times in a row, but not only that, it will have a 100% chance to bleed the target. If you hit the enemy once with the bleeding, then they are bound to bleed out. Bleeding, and well, any DOT, it's just broken in this game. In fact, I can even tell you that every weapon craft of Abella is amazing in this fight. In this case, I decided to use Meat Grinder as the best one. You might use Sandsman's Kiss for 100% poison chance, maybe even Lantern Flail as 60% fire chance, and Reaper's Rake if it actually did apply bleeding, but it's glitched currently, so don't use this one. The quicker you apply these effects, the faster the Heartless One will be going down. Doesn't mean that you cannot focus on high damage and just destroy her. Of course, if you're blind for that, don't forget Marco's amazing skill Adrenaline Rush, giving more damage the longer a fight goes by, as he stacks 3 times. Turn 1 gives you 105% attack, Turn 2 gives you 110% attack, Turn 3 gives you 130% attack. It's pretty strong, but nowhere as close as La Danse Macabre. But if you feel like being toxic, you can combine Meat Grinder with Poison Tip. Poison Tip is acquired from having Olivia's soul either by being her or killing her. It gives 50% chance to poison an enemy when you hit them and can be applied outside of combat. Meat Grinder hits 3 times means Poison Tip will be hitting 3 times. You can imagine how devastating it is to hit the Heartless One right in the body with poison, bleeding and maybe fire next turn. Yep, she dies quite fast after that since dots are very strong in this game. One last thing you probably want is a skill from the mage Osa, Meditation. This skill gives you 6 rep points when you guard. It's currently glitched. The playstyle of a physical damage build tends to be attacking only in extra turns, so might as well save your actual turns to guard whenever you can, so you can triple rep each time it's your extra turn. I should probably also tell you that the only lady who can use two-handed weapons is Abella, and currently Marina can only use the Mauler. Anyone else will be relied to one-handed weapons only. Now that the physical builds are out of the way, let's break her with the magical build. Magical builds tend to be either extremely good at outputting damage in one single turn, or are just pretty good at surviving throughout an entire fight. Out of these two, I would recommend finishing off their targets in turn 1 or turn 2, since magic damage scaling is high as hell when it comes to using La Danse Macabre. Death Mask and Chak-Chaks. As stated before, Death Mask is acquired by killing a Death Mask. Chak-Chaks are gathered by starting as Osa and looting it at the museum. Maybe you get lucky and get a third by looting everything. Death Mask and Chak-Chak give the same amount of magic damage when you use it, and they stack with La Danse Macabre. La Danse Macabre requires Osa's soul or playing as Osa. It gives a percentage amount of magic damage and it stacks up to 3 times. Turn 1 gives you 150% magic attack. Turn 2 gives you 270% magic attack. Turn 3 gives you 500 magic attack. Yeah, it's busted. Why isn't it physical like this? Spiceforge requires Osa's soul or pick Osa. It improves all your spells depending on what you use. Red Spiceforge, red spices makes them proc twice, with the spell being slightly altered at times. Blue spices makes them cost less mine and sometimes makes some spells have a 100% chance to hit. White spices makes them start combat by casting it right away. However, you should be careful when using this since it skips turn 1 against the Heartless One, making it so that her first turn will actually be her second, but you will have +1 La Danse Macabre stack at the start of the fight. A very powerful build right on the get-go is to have your White Spice Forge on a Blood Golem, so you will start on round 2 against the Heartless One. Once this happens, you will have to wait 2 more turns or attack right away as you have your stack of La Danse Macabre at the beginning. Your Golem will tank for you, so you can take less damage if you aren't focused. Now, usually the spell that I've had the biggest success when it comes to damaging the Heartless One is Combustion. Well, there's some setup to it. How do I manage to get this much damage? Quite tricky actually. I call this build the Firemancer. You need to get the following spells: Scorch Earth, 2 Vinushka, 2 Grogoroth. It makes everyone in the area take more damage from fire. Combustion, Chubinushka. It deals heavy fire damage to all enemies and their body parts. Spice Forge. Get it from Osa or while being Osa. Make sure to Spice Forge Combustion into Red Combustion. This alters the spell from being AoE into just one unique target, but it hits twice. I also recommend Spice Forge Scorched Earth into White Scorched Earth, or if you want to save mine, use Blue Scorched Earth. 2 Chak-Chaks, stack that magic damage all the way up by surviving, heroin and pep pills yourself, and boom, GG easy. This can also be done against Moonless, but yeah, you might not want to see that. And while you might have more magic builds that you can make, I recommend playing around with them. Maybe focusing on Sylvia and making your Blood Golem tank it all, as you pretty much support your Blood Golem so it takes all the damage from you as you stack Las Macabre. Maybe even going with Blue Black Orb to keep up the DPS as you stack magic damage. The world is your oyster when it comes to magic builds, but definitely one of the strongest and most reliable way of taking out the Heartless One is fire. After having taken into account physical magical, it's time for the meme build. Let's slip through our fight with the item only build. Item only build. Item only builds tend to counter many situations that they are in. For example, once you know an enemy is able to be blinded, just throw glass shards to their face and burn them in the torso, then wait and just enjoy a cup of tea while they are defeated. Another situation that is quite interesting is the following. You know an enemy has high HP thresholds for them to take a lot of damage from Olivia's condensed hemlock, like for example Valkyrie. Valkyrie has a low HP, and because of this fact you can just use it at the start of Olivia's Maso mode, and after 2 turns they're gone. By the way, I'd like to shout out Nemesis, Hamsa666 and Fokuto, who have been working on the official wiki.gg of Fear Hunger Termina. In here you'll find the HP thresholds for each enemy, so you know exactly how much bleeding, poison, fire and toxic they will be taking, as well as if your build is working well or you need some changes. This website has it all and it has been growing with time. However, I feel like it deserves support from every one of us, since the work that's been put into it is glorious. As item only, you should, well, whatever, I feel like I already explained what this try this, and if you haven't seen it, well, you were living under a rock all along. Behold, the Tank Destroyer. Preparation to be able to pull up this is quite simple. Just get the items that will allow you to survive enough for the condensed hemlock damage to scale all the way up until the target is dead. Most enemies are affected by toxic, so you won't struggle too much. Of course, there's some that won't, but that's up to you to find out. Thankfully, the Heartless One isn't immune to it, so yep, just in case it was difficult to understand, you need the following. Undergrowth Awareness, Olivia's skill or Key Olivia. Loot the poison hemlocks in the starting area. Toxicology, Olivia's skill or Key Olivia. Make sure to craft condensed hemlock. The recipe is 2 poison hemlocks and a red herb. Get any tanky items from the previous sessions. Once you got all that, just throw condensed hemlock to the torso of the Heartless One in turn 1 and just survive 3 turns. This build can easily be pulled off by any physical or magical build, if you want to, of course, since the setup is not that hard. And you're done. The Heartless One is no longer a problem for you. Loot and Secret Tech. We're finally at the end of our video and I'll be letting you know the loot that you get from defeating this being. The Heartless One loot is the Darkness, an armor piece that gives amazing defense stats, but doesn't protect against limbs. Red Virtue, an amazing weapon that does only magic damage. It hits twice and has 50 attack damage. Most enemies are weak to magic, so it's not that bad, but against Perkel, who reflects magic, yeah, no. Well, do with the information whatever you want. Surely the armor and the weapon will help a lot in the early game, only if you can take out the Heartless One early enough. Now, what's the secret tech there is? Well, listen to me. I feel like I'm about to throw a One Piece right now, but I won't back off from this statement. Did you know that Olivia's wheelchair list can use the Red Virtue while on the floor? Yes, the only weapon Olivia can use without a wheelchair and crawling on the floor is the Heartless One's weapon drop, turning a playthrough of Olivia crawl only into a massive power up and power boost. Now, with this knowledge in hand, I demand that you get into Fear Hunger Termina and be the 8th person who finished Olivia wheelchairless, and I want proof of it. I want to see it, and I want to personally congratulate you for doing such an amazing achievement, because the rush of power, the feeling of getting Olivia's Red Virtue and destroying everything after you suffered all this time, it feels good. It feels amazing. Now what do you say? Wanna take on the challenge? And if you're feeling cocky, I'll be expecting you to do it in Maso mode, just like I did. Now get to it, soldier. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please make sure to like it and subscribe to be able to support the channel. Share it around and tell people how much fun this game is for anyone who's interested. And well, remember to think positive. Peace.